It's time for Dads Making a Difference, powered by First Things First. This transformative show will help you learn how to handle the stress of fatherhood, how to better relate to your child, navigate the child support system, and all things that come with being a dad. With your hosts, Reggie Madison and James Frankie Woods.
Welcome.
Welcome.
There are some women out there that just get it. They understand fatherhood.
Yep.
They understand how you boost up a father.
Definitely.
They understand how you can tear down a father. And not just a father, just a man in general, a husband, all that.
Right.
And today was one of those days we decided we're going to veer away. We're not going to just have another man on to talk about their stories of being a dad.
Right.
We wanted to share and have our audience listen from a woman's perspective on how you can build up fathers and how you can sometimes tear down fathers.
And not just any mother.
Say that.
Not just any mother. A mother of some strong young black men in this community.
Exactly. Welcome, Miss Gena Ellis to the show today.
Woo!
Thank you.
Glad to have you. Tell the people a little bit about you, your family makeup, and all that kind of great stuff.
Well, I am a proud daughter of my daddy, and it doesn't matter that he has another child who is my brother, but he belongs to me. He's my daddy.
See, she already know how to build up her dad.
There you go.
My mother has passed away, but the two of them were spectacular. Daddy is 82 and still rocking it out. I have been married to my college sweetheart for 29 years. Come May, we'll be together 35. Yeah, let that math.
I ain't doing it.
Okay. We're the proud parents of 3 sons. One is 25's got his own job benefits. He's off my insurance. I have a college sophomore and a high school sophomore.
So I'm just telling y'all right now, there's going to be times when you hear me say she's not normal.
Right.
And I feel some kind of way about that. But we were watching the Combine last weekend.
And now you see why.
Now you see why?
Combine, for those that don't know, we're talking about the NFL Combine. This is before the draft.
Which is the last weekend of April.
See what I'm saying? And so we've seen her talk to guys. They talk about wrestling. They talk about football.
Right.
You know, like sometimes I think they rather her talk than me.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I don't know if anybody else is going to take a bereavement day when Ric Flair passes away, but I think I am.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
See, so now when I say that she's not normal, you understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
But you tell us a little bit. You've been surrounded. You said 3 sons,
3 sons.
husband,
Yes.
and you still call dad daddy.
Yep.
What's it like being surrounded by all these men folk?
It's normal. It's kind of all I've known. I had 5 uncles. Both my grandfathers were very active in my life. Not that my mother and grandmothers weren't, but they just were very present for me.
Gotcha.
And it's just normal. Football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, anything like that. Barbecuing, grilling, fixing things. That's kind of what I did. People used to say when I was little, wherever my daddy went, I would go. I was foot to foot, meaning wherever he went, you always saw me.
Could you feel the difference? Could you feel the difference of having like dad around, uncles around, compared to other people?
I think I did. There was a real strong sense of self that I had. I remember when I was 16 and I had just started dating, and the guy I was dating at the time, back in those days, you couldn't make it past the living room. We were sitting in the living room, and he had his arm around me, and Daddy walked in the house. He didn't say hi. He didn't say, how you doing? He didn't say, what's your name? He walked in and said, take your arm from around my daughter, and kept on walking.
Wow.
So that's the kind of daddy I had.
See, daddy goals right there. That's daddy goals right there.
That's what I had.
That's that. So this is my question. I always want to ask you. It's one of my strong questions. We see a lot of women in this community who like to take on both roles because they've been raised by a single mama. So sometimes they have to say, or being in the house with a man, that sometimes they feel like he's not a man in his house. And so they take on the tough woman role. You've been around a lot of men. How did you learn how to maneuver past that and say, I'm going to be a woman, but still respect my man and know my woman role in life?
Because I saw my mom do that. My mother and daddy, again, were married for 35 years before mother passed away. And they worked opposite shifts. So daddy worked at night, mother worked during the day. And she did an awesome job making him be a presence in our home, even though he was off at work. She would discipline. Now, that's one thing she did. She wasn't one to say, wait till your daddy gets home. She would handle it, but she never made him a non-issue in our family. He was always an issue. He was always present in our family.
What's that look like? Does that look like, man, he get the big piece of chicken? Or?
He always got the big piece of chicken. It just looked like a level of respect because I just remember, because when you're a teenage girl and you just want to kind of do what you want to do, mother was really clear. Your dad is out working to provide the things that you have. And just because you don't see him every day doesn't mean he doesn't care. And there was a disconnect in those teenage years. And I remember the moment it snapped back for me. I had gone off to college and I came home and only the way my dad could say, he was like, you dressed like an old lady. And I was like, I was almost offended. And then he gave me his credit card and said, go shopping. I was like, oh, we back. So he taught me he would take me to go practice my jump shot for basketball. He taught me a lot of those kinds of things. He was just kind of always there. So sometimes you could take that person for granted. But since my mother has passed away, he told her before she passed away that he would still always be there for me and my brother. So he always has been. And I'm enjoying these days with him because he is 82. But I know I have fewer days to go than I had with him, but I'm enjoying each one of them.
That's good stuff. I like that.
One more question I want to ask
Okay.
you. You love to build up our brothers. She's the type of, and I call her Mama G. I ain't gonna say Mama G today. I'm gonna say Miss Ellis. But why is it so important for you as Miss Ellis to build up your brothers in this community?
I think it's important to build up brothers in this community is because they are so torn down in every place that they go. They're torn down in the streets. They're torn down sometimes even in their homes. Just the way people talk to guys. I was always very aware, again, because my mom, to be respectful in my tone. Now, am I always successful at that? No. But I'm always aware of it. And even with my sons, I realized how I talk to them teaches their ear to listen to how other women in their future will talk to them. So if I'm a nagger, if I'm a complainer, if I'm a belittler, that becomes very normalized in their hearing. So when they date someone, they want to hear that same frequency. So I wanted to speak positively to them. So when they started dating, they would hear that frequency instead.
Wow. Yeah. So knowing that, how much have you seen, like, you've been teaching parenting for
Long time.
She's parenting coordinator at First Things First, parenting coach at First Things First. She's taught marriage classes, relationship classes, parenting classes, the whole gamut. So and she's just out in the community, just working with schools, working with guidance counselors, working at homeless shelters, just wherever parents might be, you might see Gena.
Yep.
How have you seen moms kind of tear down the dad or really make it be a barrier to fathers being fathers?
One of the ways I see it is if mom did not have the world's best relationship with her dad, there may be some anger, there may be some resentment towards him. Then there may be some unresolved feelings for the fathers of their children. And if I still care about you and you no longer care about me and have started caring about somebody else, that can lead to anger and resentment. And that's adult conversation. If you can keep it at an adult level, I think that's okay. You talk to your girlfriends about how you feel about him. Where I think it becomes a low blow is when you talk down to your children about their other parent. Not, that person shares 23, half of that child's DNA is that other parent. And sometimes we have to be clearly aware, because sometimes the worst thing that happens is the person you don't like, your child looks just like them. Mm-hmm. And every time you look in your child's face, you don't see your child, you see their other parent that you have some negative emotions for. And then sometimes that gets put on the kids, put in the atmosphere, and it just becomes combustible.
I mean, part of what you're saying is some parents, and we'll just say moms, but
some parents,
but some parents see they don't have a good relationship with the
father of the child,
with the father,
or the mother,
and they're looking at the child who looks like the other person, and they're projecting that dislike, and don't even realize how that's affecting their child.
Exactly.
That's deep.
Yeah, that's deep.
That's real deep. And so I've heard you talk about just differences, things that that moms bring to the table versus what dad brings to the table, and sometimes how mom can be in the way and then how mom can get out the way.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I wanted to ask you.
That's a hard one because y'all know I'm a mama to my heart.
Right.
And a lot of what moms, we feel like we have to do is to protect our kids and to keep our kids safe. And sometimes that protection extends to their other parent. And I love my husband. We've been married 29 years, but when he has to say, I'm talking to my sons, I have to take a deep breath because he is the other parent. And there is a way he has to communicate with his sons that as their mother, I may not like, but he is their father, and I have to allow him to do what he has to do to be the father, which is different. Because I want to protect and keep them safe and not let any bad thing happen to them. What dads often do is allow them freedom and give them space to take risk and explore what they can and can't do. My fear of harm for my kids can sometimes communicate to them that I don't believe they're capable. I've had to talk to my oldest son because when he was applying to college, there was a school he really wanted to apply to, but my fear as his mom that he wouldn't get accepted, I didn't say, yay, go do it. I was like, oh, it might be okay if you just do. I want you to play it safe. Dad was like, see, all they can say is no. And he needed to hear that more than the protection that I was trying to give. So you need kind of both.
So what I hear you saying is sometimes as a mama, you just have to learn to just shut your mouth sometimes.
Just back up.
Is that what I hear you saying?
Just back it on up.
Yeah, no, that's not what I said.
See. Oh, man. I was trying to get that for you, fellas. I mean.
But it's hard because for moms, there is such a visceral connection to your child. There is such a internal, I've got to keep this baby, and my babies are now 5'11", 6'3", and 6'1", but in my eyes, they're still my babies. But at some point, I've got to stop seeing them as babies, and they're young men, and I have to kind of take a back seat and let dad speak to them because the world's not going to treat them or see them the way that I do. And Dad will kind of expose them to that a little bit.
Gotcha. Since you being Mama Bear,
Yes.
speaking to the dating scene for your sons, what do you prepare them for? What are the things that you teach them that's very important when becoming that type of man / young man that you want them to be in the community?
One thing I've always taught them is keep your hands to yourself. That means you don't touch somebody else's child, but I also expect a mama to teach her daughters to keep her hands off my son too. Because I am training my sons to be respectful, to be caring, but to have boundaries. Not to take on responsibility that is not his. He is not her husband. That's a different level of responsibility. But she deserves to be treated with respect and kindness and honesty. My middle son is dating a lovely young lady right now, and we've had conversations. He was getting ready to join an organization. I was like, hey, if you're doing this, number one, you need to let her know. Number two, if you decide you don't want to be with her anymore, you need to be honest with her and let her know we're not playing these games. We're not having one on one side and that whole my right hand don't need to know what my left. We're being honest and clear so that because if you put that out, then you can get honesty back. But I also think just having expectations of, how you deserve to be treated, tones of voice, I'm not a yeller, I'm not a screamer, I'm not a cusser, and I don't want my sons treated that way. And they aren't going to treat anybody's daughter badly either.
As you say that, I think about just how, from a mom's perspective, how she's talking to her sons to help them understand, like, this is what, I won't say any woman should expect, but this is, when you treat a woman like this, right, this is what you get back.
But I also, unfortunately, have to share with them, not all young women know how to receive that.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows how to be treated well. Not everybody can receive. Some people will believe that you're soft because you're respectful. Some people will believe that you're soft because you don't push your will over on somebody else, that you respect their boundaries. But they have to, I want them to make wise choices in the people that they date.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
You mentioned it. 6'3", 6'1",
Yeah.
5'11".
Yeah. And I'm not.
Well, and they not skinny boys.
No, they not.
She got some big boys.
They got a little meat on them.
And in this day and time, being young black men, how have just you and your husband kind of approached that as they have grown and are gone, or getting to that space where they go?
Yeah, we've had to have those conversations. The driving conversation. My youngest is driving now, and having to help him know where his license is, where his insurance is, where all the paperwork he needs for the car is. That, be respectful. Don't do, I know you're 16, your brain's half baked, you're going to do something silly and foolish, but I just need you to come home. So do those things. And my husband has honestly taken more of the lead on that, because the protection part of me wants them to stay home and put them in a cave and put a rock in front of it. And yeah, they'll be a little socially awkward when they come out, but they'd still be alive. And I know that's not realistic, but for my older two, that's honestly one of the reasons they never drove, is because during that time, a lot of black young men were being shot and killed, and bad things were happening with them driving. So I didn't really push it. My youngest one wasn't going to let me not push it. So he pushed it. So we're having to have, slow down. Just because the speed limit is 35, not 55. But keep having the conversations. because in 2 years he'll be off somewhere else, whether it's to the military or to college. So I'm having these conversations not just for what he's going to do at home, but what his life is going to look like in the future.
Yeah.
Because what I see, it's funny. One thing I recognized, and it shifted how I parented the boys, is if I look at them only as my sons, then I will do things that are convenient for me. When I look at them as if they will be on their own and a future husband and a future father, there are some different things I need to teach them and pour into them that may not be convenient for me, but what they need to know so that they can survive if I'm no longer here.
A woman of knowledge.
Every time you speak to the guys, what's the message, the kind of that central message that you like to make sure that you convey to them?
That they are that they have value in the lives of their families and the lives of their children. There's often, talk about how important a dad is in the life of his sons. I would say it's even more important, a dad's value in the life of his daughter, because there are just certain things I chose not to deal with as a young person dating because I knew the value my dad had placed in me. I shared this story when I was 16. That same young man who had his arm around me, he told me that if I didn't sleep with him, he was going to sleep with somebody else. And I looked at him square in his eyes and said, "Well, when you finish, let me know how it was."
That's something a secure woman says, right? Because
because I'm not.
Right.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not the one. You can try somebody else, but no, not me.
Wow. Strong words. Before we get into these last little questions, I like to give you your flowers today. And I'm not gonna make you cry.
No, you're not.
I'm not gonna make you cry because we strong today. But today I like to say thank you, Mama G.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being a pillar to this community. Thank you for being a voice for these fathers who don't have a voice. Thank you for being a strong black woman who has always valued her job and valued her self-worth. And just know it's not gone being unheard and unseen. And we want to say thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah. I appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Everything he said. I wanted the community, the world to hear from someone that is proud of her womanhood, proud of her femininity, but values, man, husband, dad, sons, in a way,
right,
in a way that kind of helps promote even their masculinity and help them to feel good about it. And a lot of women, a lot of societies don't really do that. Mm-hmm. And that's something that never fails. Like, she makes men feel good about being men.
Yeah, she teaches you how to walk in you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
She really does.
Because we need you to show up.
Yeah.
We need you to be the best you for your family.
And what's cool is it doesn't diminish who you are at all.
No.
So it only make her get more sons in the world.
Right.
like James Frankenwood. It's my Mama G, y'all. And I go to bat for my Mama G. I want y'all to know this. But we gonna get into these questions. We got quick. Are you cool with that, Mama?
I'm cool.
Okay. First question is, what makes dads irreplaceable?
Because dads are irreplaceable because they give structure to their daughters, but they also allow children to take risk, and they do different things than moms do. I mean, even in how dads play. I used to love to wrestle with my dad. Oh my God. I would wrestle and he'd get me and I'd holler and scream, and my mother would say, "Let her go," and he'd let me go, and what would I do? Jump back right, and we start the wrestling. So yeah, dads play differently, and kids need that.
No doubt. I'm taking you back.
Oh Lord.
What's your strongest or most craziest, whatever memory that you have from your father?
Okay, I don't have a memory of it, but I had enough stories told about it. Okay, my dad worked at night. My mother worked during the day. So I actually stayed home with my dad. He took care of me during the day. And he went to sleep one day on me. And he woke up and he had a head full of Vaseline on top of his head. And as a parent, I kind of judged him. I was like, how could you go to sleep on your child? And yeah, I was pregnant with my third child and I went to sleep. Before I knew it, I had a bottle of baby powder at the foot of the bed. And I'm notorious for calling him, even to this day, and will say thank you or apologize for something I did to him because my sons have now done it to me.
Wow.
I appreciate that. Dads, we do help you not take life too seriously.
Oh,
We do.
yeah.
We do. So what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, you are enough.
That's good.
You are enough. You don't have to be anybody else. You being you is enough.
Cool. What have you seen as the biggest barrier for non-traditional fathers?
Sometimes they just don't see their own worth.
Yeah.
Sometimes they feel like money can replace them, but you are absolutely irreplaceable.
If you could take your teenage son, I know you got 3 of them, which son, I can say which son, where would you take them and what would you provide them with? One of your sons, your teenage son.
Yeah, what experience?
What experience would you give them?
What experience? I think we all should go to Africa. I would love to do that because I know there are rites of passage that happen in the motherland where people know at a certain age there's certain things you learn how to do. We aren't as good at that since we've come to this country. Wow. But helping them really understand their value and their place in the community.
Oh, man.
That's cool.
I think everybody want to go to Africa.
Right.
Everybody want to go to Africa. But we want to say thank you, Miss Ellis, for coming in and supporting Dad's Making a Difference like you have for over the years and supporting your community.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
and your ladies in blue. You want to rep your ladies in blue one time?
The ladies of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a difference, and thank you for helping so many dads make a difference.
Bye.
You've been listening to Dads Making a Difference, powered by First Things First. Join us for our next episode right here.